I didn't win in 2025, but I left with everything that I need to win in 2026. 2025, and I'll leave with this. I think this is the biggest thing that I learned for 2025 is choosing consistency over perfection. And I'll repeat that because that's something that you may align with as well. Choosing consistency over perfection. What I mean by that is a lot of times when we envision ourselves attaining a goal, being at a certain point, acquiring a certain level of success, it has to look a certain way, right? It has to come in a red box. But even if it's the PS5 that you wanted and it came in a green box, even though that's your least favorite color, it's still the gift that you wanted. At the end of the day, maybe it had the red bow. Nonetheless, the gift still came in the box. You still received it. You still got it done. But sometimes those little accents allows us to be thrown off, right? Because it's not as perfect as we pictured it. But that's the things that will lead us astray. Focus on those small little details like that, right? We have to be grateful in the moment and remind ourselves to be humble, but know that as long as we're consistent, we'll get to that point, right? Right? Because you have to sit and ask yourself, what does the consistent me look like? That is honestly, and you have to be honest with yourself and say, honestly, working toward that goal day in and day out, right? That goal that you set for the end of the year, what does that person do month in, month out? And even breaking it out to the small, um, micro level of a day. Because we always overestimate what we can do in a year, but underestimate what we can do in a day. And I know that's a fact. Like setting up how the goals of how much I want to drop, or not setting down, breaking down into the week and saying, what does that look like? Where am I at content wise? Like who am I reaching out to? Where am I collabing? Am I coming up with ideas? Am I actually shooting the content? Is that a yes for you? Is that a no? Right? And that could be translated in every single area. For school, you said you wanted to start studying more, right? 10 hours a week. But how many hours of that a day is it? Where do you have to be? Like what location do you have to be to focus? You need to go to a coffee shop. You need to go to the library. Starting off though, being more consistent, and you can work your way up to that goal, right? Because maybe you left off the year working 5 hours a week studying rather than 10. Not to say that you completely fail, right? Because the only time that you fail is when you quit. The only time that you fail is when you're not trying. So you can't tell yourself that you quit or you failed at this goal, but you need to be a bit more consistent. Maybe align your goals with something that's that has more value in it, right? I need to study harder so I can graduate, and not just because you'll make more money. Maybe it's because you'll be able to take care of more people in your household or your family. Maybe you'll be able to prove the doubters wrong. Maybe that's not enough. Maybe it's making sure that you gave everything that you promised and more for maybe your mom, maybe a loved one. Maybe it was never being in a position ever again. It could be multiple things, but sometimes we have to paint the picture nice enough so we'll fall in love with seeing it, right? We'll fall in love with the process, the journey of how many strokes it may take to get to that final picture. Nonetheless, that falls in line with that. If I stay consistent 2026, it changes everything. It changes completely everything. What is that person that looks like? What does that person look like that goes to the gym X amount of days a week? What does that person look like that spends an extra 2 3 hours once he gets off of work into his hobby, into his passion? What is that person that invests $100 more instead of spending $100? Somewhere done. Maybe on a sports bet you just been messing around with. What does it look like if you're more consistent? I can tell you it looks better than the version that left 2025 because you weren't consistent in some area. That's why we didn't achieve the goal, right? Because today, where we are right now, is a direct proportion of where we were yesterday, or what we did yesterday or the day before. And that may not be fully true because everything can be a compound interest, but most likely you stacked in some area. And the goal for 2026, I think, is, and we owe it to ourselves, is being more consistent than we were the previous year. Because the consistent person is going to be the one that ultimately achieves that goal, right? The most virtuous man you can think of um, is the one that falls 7 times and gets up 8. Because they understand that you can only fail if you quit. Moving into 2026, I think the biggest thing I want to take away is everything that I need for this year is placed in 2025, right? We need to walk into it differently. Being okay with not having a perfect year, but having a consistent one. What does that mean though? It doesn't have to look pretty. It doesn't have to come out exactly how I want it. If I'm being 1% better every day, if I'm working toward that goal in some way or some fashion, if you're somebody that wants to be a content creator, maybe you created an outline of your content, what you'll post. Maybe you drew on a whiteboard or came up with some ideas, created a list of 100 videos. Maybe then you broke down what videos you do for how many weeks. And if you're a makeup artist, if you're a lash artist, maybe you came up with content ideas on how you can rebrand yourself, or maybe a logo, or maybe you decided to do a sale where you can bring in more clients. It can all look so different, but even if you're moving 0.1% every a day, that 0.1% will add up to the one. That one will add up to the five. That five will add up to the 10. That 10 will add up to the 50, and that 50 will add up to the 100. The small wins, they mean a lot. So never allow yourself to feel small if the win is small, right? Allow it to be a booster, a motivator, but don't allow that to be the end goal when we reach these small little pivots. 2026, when I'm looking back on this video, I want to say to myself that I've grown, right? Because we're currently sitting at chat 120 subscribers, 120. And I'm pleased. Like, we were at 0 at one point when we were fresh to the channel. We had 0 subscribers. Do I want to be at 0? Absolutely not. Do I want to be at 1,000,000 subscribers? Absolutely. But what does that look like? Consistency. Buckling down in certain areas, being more intentional with the goals. Because I've seen the growth when we post it consistently. I've seen what that looks like. I've seen what it does to our channel. I've seen what it takes. Do I have the consistency to continue to put that into it? Is that something that I want? Then we have to be honest to ourselves when we're talking about goals. So the consistent me 2027, when I'm looking back, I want to say that I've 10x or 100x. I want to move to. Oh, the goal is honestly, chat, getting 100,000 subscribers this year. That would be a crazy, and I think we can honestly do it. Because I broke down posting 3 to 5 times a week, long or short form content, right? And then career wise, what I also want to do is start my first job in tech. That'll be dope, chat. I'm working towards that. That's what something I work toward on the back end. Consistency in the gym. I want to see the output. I'm seeing it, but being consistent with that, like making that a habit of life. Health is wealth. When I'm going to the gym, I feel more energized. When I'm creating content, when I'm doing these other things, when I'm at work, so I don't feel mentally drained, right? Physically, I'm getting recharged. So it translates for me wanting to even do the content. 'Cause when I leave work, chat, I'm just mentally gone sometimes. So me going to the gym will help me boost that. Like, I had work today. I went to the gym though. Went to the gym, came, started shooting content. And a lot of times, chat, you have to be okay with these obstacles coming in your life, because you can't expect to be heading to um such a like such a great goal and not have something try to deter you from it. Like, there will be evils on the way. There will be shaitans. There will be something that doesn't want you to get that in some way, some fashion. Like, literally, chat, I made the goal for myself to start going to the masjid more, I was heading to the masjid. I was literally 3 minutes away. It was 15 to 20 minutes until Isha. I get pulled over. I get a ticket, and the traffic stop ended when Isha the down was called. So by the time I would have made it to the masjid, they would have already prayed Isha, bro. Literally. But Allah knows my intention. You can only continuously to work towards that goal. So maybe if I would have left even earlier, um, I would have been able to make it. For example, or if I planned time ahead for or maybe took a different route. I'm not sure, but nonetheless, that doesn't don't allow that to. I can't allow that to not make me present the next time or the next goal or the next day I should be going, right, for the days I set for myself. I want you to drop down in the comment section below something that you took from 2025 that you'll use for fuel for 2026. What will you use from 2025 as fuel for 2026? And that can be a loss, that can be a win, that can be somebody coming into your life, somebody leaving your life. It could be anything, chat. But share down below. Share down below what that may look like. I also want to go over did my vision board. I think sometimes we have to visualize these goals, right? To remind ourselves, so when we're chasing such large things, sometimes it may feel subconsciously that we can attain it. Like we cannot have that. Maybe we're not worth it. Maybe we're too far off. Whatever the case may be. So for me, when I start my years, I like to do my vision boards. If you haven't already, I recommend doing so. Maybe even journal. Write a letter to yourself for 2027. Also write a letter reflecting 2025. Talk to the 2025 you. What advice would you give for 2026? Or just reflect and saying where you fell short. It's just accomplishments. Like be okay with the small wins once again. Like saying, hey, I did great in this section, and I know I can use that for 2026 or I really fell short here, but I'm glad at least I tried it out. And I know this is something that I liked, and I know if I just invested time and stop using it, maybe scrolling too much on my phone, then I can read a few more books. It can be anything, chat. So we have the Deen across the middle. I want to improve my relationship with Allah, reading the Quran, being able to have tajweed, and it's connected relationship, getting married, chat. That's a big goal I want to work on. I'm not gonna lie. That's part of your Deen, completing that. Traveling. When we went on these trips this past year, chat, man, that was the most needed reset. Every time I go on a trip, it sets me up. I feel like in the best way. I get more inspired, like to create content. When I went to Bali, and I didn't record this, but this is before we moved into our apartment with Rocket and content. Since then, I was locked in, like I was purpose driven, and that's where I want to be with a lot of things. Um, but I have to not allow myself to feel the need of motivation, and I need to create that. I need to be the motivation, right? Because these goals are big enough, right? Me being able to attain them or just try to work towards them, right? Somebody was working towards this and they stopped a bit short, or somebody wanted to, and maybe they're not here no more, chat. So this blessings in itself, taken for what it is. Continuously working on the credit, getting the house we have up here, the gym, vlogging content. We got a million plaque. First, we need that silver one first, of course, but why would I put 100,000 when I can have a mil? You know what I mean, chat? Up in the subscribers, and that'll come with time. But man, my career is like a cybersecurity. It's what is it anyway? Let me see. They're scripting, so I'll put that on there. Don't wish for it, work for it. Stand by that. Because if you're praying on these things, chat, you can only do so. Like you have to do so much of the work. Like If you heard of the man in the story of tying your camel, don't be the person that didn't tie their camel, right? And Allah is the best of planners. Working towards these things, if it's meant for you, it'll truly happen. But you do have to like put some effort in. You can't just be not working toward a goal, right? You can't just expect everything to be given to you. You can't expect to not have any foot in the game. 2025 did not give me all the answers I needed, but it gave me the direction. And I hope after you reflect, after watching this video, you kind of get the same discernment, you kind of get the same answers and the same outcome after reflecting a little bit, and that lets you propel in 2026. I hope 2026 is your most winning year. I hope you 10x in your career. I'll be 10x your income. I'll be 10x your in your business. I'll be 10x your if you're a content creator out there, your content, your viewership, your community. I hope your family and your relationships, they grow, they flourish. It's nothing but people that want to see you win around you. I hope that things are just filled with love. I'll be increase your relationship with God. I hope things just work out. Things just work out, and I hope you're consistent on these things. And there's not a point where you ask yourself, why am I doing this? You just start falling in love with the journey, because I think that's the biggest thing. And I hope for 2026 is what we can do is fall in love with the journey and look back and say, man, I was so in love. I didn't see where time went, but we're finally here. So, chat. See you on the next video.
But I start the book count 100 up. I don't want one hoe, I want 100 up. Finna drop the